We have some breaking news. A top Chinese official now says Beijing has agreed to extend its tariff truce with the U.S. after an intense 2 days of talks between the world's two largest economies. Very few details have been given so far. We don't even know how long this extension will last. But earlier this morning, the president denied that he was seeking a summit with President Xi, although he did leave the door open to visiting China if an invitation was extended. Joining us now, Natasha Sarin, professor at Yale University and president of the Yale Budget Lab. First of all, I want to get your reaction to this extension. Is there any way to read this besides good news? At least they're going to keep talking.
Well, I think the challenge is it's good news. Obviously, we should keep talking, and China is an incredibly important trading partner and, frankly, a really important relationship for the United States to try and navigate. The challenge, though, is that so much of what the administration has been saying over the course of the last few weeks in the lead up to this August 1st deadline is that August 1st is the deadline. And at that point, you're going to see a lot of certainty with respect to how these trade deals are ultimately going to land. And now you're in a situation with arguably the most important and consequential of these particular dynamics where we're kind of kicking the can down the road again, and frankly, an indefinite period with respect to when American businesses and American consumers can really start to understand what the new trade landscape is going to look like.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about the rest of the world, August 1st, just for folks who aren't looking at their calendar, is Friday, right? And just this morning, the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, talked on CNBC with a message for the rest of the world about those tariffs. Take a listen.
China is their own thing. We have our own team working with China. They're their own thing. For the rest of the world, we're going to have things done by Friday. And Friday is not that far away. So you should expect, we said, August 1st is the date that we're setting all these rates. And they are off to the races after that.
So this comes after President Trump basically said, I've got a baseline for the rest of the world. It's 15 to 20% because you can't sit down and make 200 different deals with 200 different countries. But is this a sign tariffs could be here to stay rather than a point of negotiation?
Well, I think that's kind of what the administration has made clear. Howard Lutnick earlier this week was talking about the fact that these tariffs are going to bring in a very substantial amount of revenue. The work that my colleagues and I did at the Yale Budget Lab estimates that the current tariffs that are in place represent an increase in revenue of about $3 trillion over the course of the next 10 years. And actually, like the administration, we should give some credit where credit is due. Frankly, we are in a fiscal position where we really do need to raise revenue. It's just that tariffs are a remarkably bad way to raise revenue, because what they do is they place the burden of paying those tariffs and paying those taxes on low and middle income Americans, who are disproportionately the ones that are consuming large shares of their income and are the ones who are watching price increases across the board for literally everything that they buy.
Yeah, you and I were talking in the break going in that we've been noticing price increases for various things that we've been shopping for lately. Look, the Republican Senator Josh Hawley has introduced new legislation that would provide a tariff rebate, essentially, a check for $600 per adult and child to American families. I mean, actually, Donald Trump was asked about this recently in the last couple of days, and he said, you know, maybe it is something we will look at. But can that make up for the extra costs that people will incur if we're looking at potentially a 15, 20% tariff?
Well, again, the idea behind using this tariff revenue as a way to deal with our fiscal position comes on the heels of the fact that the administration has just pushed for a $3 trillion tax and spending package that disproportionately benefits the very top, who see very large tax cuts. And so at least what has been argued is like, OK, don't worry about the fact that we blew up the deficit by several $1 trillion because we're going to get all of this revenue from tariffs that's then going to allow us to be in a more fiscally tenable position. But if in reality, then you're just going to rebate all of the money that you're collecting, then you're in the same fiscal position you were before. You have trillions of dollars that have been spent and no real concept or way for how you're going to get us back to any place of balance. And why that matters for real Americans is because when the government has all this debt outstanding, they have to pay people more in order to be willing to hold that debt. And those higher interest rates ricochet down into the economy. They mean higher mortgage rates for consumers and higher rates on car loans and on student loans. So all of this like really deeply matters and isn't actually a way in which you want the government to be operating.
Natasha Sarin, thank you.